It's okay. You got coffee, tea.
All right, my friends, here we are.
You wanted it in here.
Here we are on the base matters tonight. With a different background and environment for Hashem. So, what we're learning is about the laws of the second Shabbos, as you all know. And there are a few issues that we brought up yesterday that I did not quite address so fully. Simply because I didn't know. So Hashem helped, and I was able to look into them a little bit today. I can't say I looked a lot into them, but with Hashem's help, I'll try to write something up about it for Shabbos. So the question was asked yesterday, why can you take medication on Yom Tov? When the whole reason you can't take on the first day, yes. And the whole reason that you cannot take medication on Shabbos is because you might grind that medicine. So what on Yom Tov? So what if you grind the medicine? Big deal. It's for food. It's not food. It's medication, but you need it. So what's the big deal? Why can't you do it?
And today is no grinding.
No, grinding is a general question on Shabbos too. But we keep the Xeris of Chazal, even though some of the reasons don't seem to apply. We keep the Xeris of Chazal. But even in those days, when they would actually grind, so what if they grind on Yom Tov? Big deal. That was the question. So I had a few ideas, but some of them had something to them and some of them didn't. I wanted to say that grinding is forbidden on Yom Tov because grinding is usually done in large quantities. For example, when you make make flour, you usually do large quantities. You don't usually just do enough flour for a day or two. You do it for however, a long time. So there's a Xer of Chazal that you shouldn't do that in Lacha on Yom Tov because you may end up doing in large quantities. And then, of course, Yom Tov will be ruined because you'll spend Yom Tov in the mill instead of in shul and at the Farbrengen. So, the problem with that answer is that, first of all, it's not so clear that it's true. Because it is true that you do large quantities for grain, but for herbs, medicinal herbs, I mean, nowadays they make medicines in large quantities. But in those days, I don't know if it was true that they did in large quantities. Right? Probably not. They probably, the witch doctor or whatever, probably, I mean, they're the real doctor. In those days, those were the real doctors. Whatever it was, the real doctor would grind it up for the patient as needed. That's what it sounds like. Probably, yeah. So who said they did it in big quantities? Anyway, even if they did, that's only Xer Darabon. Are they going to make a decree against taking medicine because you might do it on Yom Tov? And even if you do it, so what? It's only Darabon. We're going to make a decree to protect the Darabon. We don't usually do that. Shabbos, it's a Torah violation to grind. And Yom Tov, even if you're not allowed, there's been a violation. So that was answer number one. We'll put it on hold. Answer number two, which we'll also put on hold, is that you cannot grind something or do any malacha if it's a thing that if you would do it in advance before Yom Tov, it would not diminish the taste at all. So you're allowed to cook on Yom Tov because freshly cooked food is better. You're allowed to shecht on Yom Tov because freshly shechted food is better. Meat. But you're not allowed to trap on Yom Tov. God can't cook for you in general because it's Bisholakum.
So you can crush pepper on Yom Tov.
We can reheat the food. Yeah, reheat the food. Crushing pepper doesn't machlokes actually, because some say that, I mean, the ikar halacha is that it's mutter, but some say because the difference between freshly ground pepper and non-freshly ground pepper is very slight. There is a difference, but it's a slight difference, that it's better not to do it, or not that it's better not to do it, it's better to do it with the shim. It's better to do it with the shim. The main
My
halacha
point was salt. You certainly can't grind on Yom Tov, right?
right, exactly.
So we could say that it's because if it's a mineral, then it doesn't make so much of a difference.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So it could be that medicine is not the sort of thing that gets worse. You can do it in advance also, but I don't know if that's true. Maybe freshly made medicine of those days is better. A, I don't know if it's true. And B, once again, even if it is true, it's only a Issa D'Rabbanan. So again, if you would grind it on Yom Tov, it wouldn't be an Issa D'Oraisa. So why should they make an Issa to protect the D'Rabbanan?
Amen. How about you, Frank? Okay.
Sorry, again,
we can't cook for
we cannot cook for the Yom Tov. That is correct. I want to make sure we have a meeting tonight. Davin, Davin? Davin? Just three. Emmanuel, you Davin? Not four. I'm not learning yet inside.
Emmanuel, do you have it?
I didn't start yet. I'm discussing.
You did not have it. No, okay.
I'm discussing the question of shchita. I'm discussing the question of taking medicine on Yom Tov, which we asked yesterday. I didn't really have a clear answer. So one of the answers that I had yesterday, which merited to be discussed by the Avnei Nezer, discussed and rejected, but it was discussed. The Avnei Nezer suggested that maybe the reason that it's forbidden to make medicine on Yom Tov, just 1 second, is because it's not Shaveh L'chol Nefesh. We know that Kashem Shehutra L'tzorech Oichel Nefesh Hutra L'shar Tzorchim. You're allowed to do malachas on Yom Tov, not just for eating. Medicine is not eating, but you're allowed to do it for other things also, but only if they're Shaveh L'chol Nefesh, things that the average person needs.
Is the person taking the same level?
What?
Is this about both ways?
No, I'm talking about the first day. The first day.
When we say Shaveh L'chol Nefesh, it's meaning every person is taking different, that's why.
No, I'm talking about the average person, not every person. The average person needs it, like food, which the average person needs. Things that are not needed by the average person are not included. So you could say maybe medicine is not needed by the average person. Yes.
The shul, I know, when they have a non-Jewish lady, and she's cooking for everyone in the shul, but every Friday night, she's in the kitchen, every Friday afternoon, and then Friday night, she's in the kitchen cooking food.
Cooking? Cooking?
She's taking the oven, the chicken, she's marinating the chicken, she's putting the chicken in the oven.
Putting it in the oven or marinating? I mean, there's different things you're talking about.
She's basically
On Shabbos?
she's preparing everything right before Shabbos, and then on Shabbos, she's the one taking it out of the oven and
Taking it
she's
out?
putting the chicken on out of the cans and the oven and making the dishes to be served for everyone in the shul.
Sounds good. So far, so good, yeah.
Just as long as she's cooking it before Shabbos, it's okay.
Yeah, and a Jew had to make that it shouldn't be bishalakum.
Yeah, no, she's not doing any cooking actually on Shabbos. Like she's preparing all the food and serving all the food.
No problem.
That's not happening.
It's
I don't know. I'm hoping it's someone who's getting far, but it's not.
It's a taste of the Messianic era.
It's a must, it's not a
Right, and is there a must that someone supervises her the whole time?
You know, all the time.
In and out, in and out, in and out. Should be somebody in and out to make sure she is following the rules. But the idea of a guy working for us, I mean, that's when Mashiach comes, we're going to have a bunch of slaves. So why not start already? I mean, not slaves.
26,000.
Helpers. Yeah. The numbers, yeah. So the point is that that was my thought yesterday. But Avnei Nezer says, I don't remember how he proves it, but he says because health is needed for the average person, even though medicine is not needed for the average person, but because the objective is necessary for the average person, so then medicine should be considered shavar l'chol nefesh. I don't remember how he proves it, but that's what he says. So, I'm sorry? So, he has two possible reasons as to why medicine should be awesome. One of them argues with the Magen Avraham, and the other one agrees. The one that argues with the Magen Avraham is as follows. But let's first backtrack. How do we even know that medicine is asar Yom Tov? Where does it say it? So I said it. Mishnah, which Mishnah? Yeah. Well, there's exceptions to that. So I'm not gonna. You could call this Eichel Nefesh. Allah Eichel Nefesh B'lai. Call this Eichel Nefesh. I haven't read Mishnah Berurah. Chelek Mishnah Berurah Chelek. Zeh Gimel. So I based it on. Alter Rebbe Daled. Alter Rebbe Daled. No, it's okay. I have one. I just don't need it. This is a battle scar from the mikveh this morning. Knife got the better of me. Whatever. It's a kosher mikveh. I was doing Tfilas Keilim. That happened to be a man's mikveh, but it's a kosher mikveh. Anyway. The point is, here we are. Likhol es ayin, lo yikhol. Yom Tov. Likhol es ayin is to paint the eye with a special kind of medicine, which they used to do for eye aches or whatever. So that it was blue.
It turns blue.
The medicine itself was blue.
Mm-hmm.
Would it turn the eye blue? I don't know, probably. Yeah, it would paint it. It would paint it. So Avnei Nezer says that's not a proof. You're not eating anything. You're painting. Painting is not hutra. It's not one of the things that are hutra. So that's not a proof. The proofs that people bring is the Magen Avraham. The Magen Avraham is on Tafkuf Lamed Beis, where it says that you're not allowed to do, that you are allowed to do refuah on Chol HaMoed. You're allowed to do refuah on Chol HaMoed. The Magen Avraham says, you see from here, that you're not allowed to do it on Yom Tov. Only on Chol HaMoed is mutter. So, the Avnei Nezer questions the proof of the Magen Avraham, and he comes up with the following chiddush. I'm going to tell you a chiddush now of the Avnei Nezer. Avnei Nezer is a Sachat Shavar Rebbe.
I want to appreciate the flash. Something that's not edible, that's not allowed to be. Something that is edible. Medicine is edible. Kol hayam is not edible.
That's what he says. He says That's what he questions. That's what he questions. He says, don't prove it from that, because that involves other malachas besides crushing and cooking. That involves painting. Painting is not one of the things that is mutar in that general.
The whole inside of one fashion, God, what about that on movement?
So on Shabbos you can't, even if it's, we're discussing it right now, but on Shabbos you can't, because if you could do it, even if it was prepared before, then you might prepare it. That's the general thing with Xeris and Chazal. You can't do something permissible because it may lead to do something forbidden. You can't put something on the fire before Shabbos, which is permissible, unless it's a half cooked, whatever, because you may stir the coals. You see what I'm saying? I understand, but there are some things that even if you prepare before, it's still a problem, depending on the situation. The Kitzer, so he says, this is a Chiddush. So he says that, I think it's the Talmud of the Chiddush Arim, maybe? I don't remember. He says that, sorry? Which one? Which one, about the pending the eye? Could be, I don't remember. So he says, Nicholas Ayin, yeah, 22a. So he says that it depends. When it comes to Shabbos, he says you're not allowed to take a medication which is made by grinding, and you're not even allowed to take a medication which is not made by grinding. And he proves it from different sources in the Masechta Shabbos. No, a medication like, for example, going into Cold War, we spoke before, we spoke yesterday about a person who has a chazoi dam. A chazoi dam, he has too much blood, whatever that means, I don't know, high blood pressure, whatever. So it says you're not allowed to go into water to cool down from that. But if it's not,
What happened?
Yeah, I have also had it freeze up.
sorry, you there?
Yeah.
Yep, we're back.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah,
you're
just
Where did you lose me?
about a minute ago.
Okay, so Avnei Nezer, okay, you're on. Avnei Nezer says that on Shabbos, you're not allowed to do any refuah, even if it does not involve any kind of potion of grinding herbs, because you may come to do it with herbs, and then you may grind it. A double decree. We find sometimes Chazal make a double decree. However, on Yom Tov, we only make the decree against Samanim itself. You're not allowed to use anything that has actual herbs, because if you were to use the herbs, you might grind it. Grinding is only also the abundant on Yom Tov, not the Eraisa, like you said before. So it's also a double decree, but we don't make 3 decrees. So you're allowed to do a refuah that does not involve any kind of spices. Yeah. That's his chiddush. That's his chiddush.
Only allowing to travel down and north. So the Buddha himself will allow to be.
Sometimes yes, sometimes no.
No, actually himself.
Sometimes yes, sometimes no.
So what the question about allowing is already allowing to go on one side, what to be different to go on another side, and even also.
Sometimes yes, sometimes no. Sometimes yes, sometimes no.
What would be an example of something like you that's not herbal, like you can take like drinking olive oil or something like that for a refuah?
No, the examples that he gives are things that don't involve anything that you drink, like you go in cold water. Let's say you take a massage, something that
Oh, okay.
physical thing does not involve any any kind of potion at all. But yeah, in terms of grinding, some kinds of grinding are mutar and yatum, some are also. You cannot grind flour because Chazal said you might grind. It's something you do in large quantities. You might waste Yom Tov doing it in large quantities. Anything that you could do beforehand that wouldn't affect the taste. So there's different reasons why it's sometimes forbidden Darabah.
What are the three levels? What are the three zeros? 1 0, 2 0, 3 0.
So on Yom Tov, the whole thing of grinding is Darabah. So to not take a medicine that's pre-ground is a double thing. To not do a refuah that is not involving grinding at all would be 3 zeros. So that's a chiddush that he says should be mutar. Nevertheless, no, we find in some cases Chazal makes zera because it's a close zera. בדרך כלל לא עושים זרע לזה, עושים רק זרע אחת. יש איסור תורה, חכמים באים ועושים זרע אחת. אבל לפעמים מוצאים שתי גזירה. לא היתר, גזירה, איסור של גזירה לגזירה. שגוזרים גזירה בכדי לשמוע על גזירה. לפעמים, we have it sometimes, not common. But anyway, is this the halacha? So, the Maisa, the Magen Avraham forbids it, like I said. The Mishnah Berurah quotes the Magen Avraham. And in the end of the day, he does give a support for the Magen Avraham from the opinion of, I think it's Rabbah, which I believe he says, Rosh Paschas like that answer of Rabbah, even though not all person do. But basically, we're not allowed to immerse kalim on Yom Tov. It's like not allowed to immerse kalim on Shabbos and a mikveh, right? Kalim, no, second day too. Can immerse kalim on Yom Tov, either day. Different opinions, Tumah Latara, or if it's talking about Mukalim, whatever it is. The Maisa, there's different opinions in the Gemara, why not? Rabbah says that it's a gzeira that you might carry it. If you would be allowed to toivel it, you might carry it. No Eruv. So Tosfos says, what do you mean carry? You're allowed to carry it on Yom Tov. So he says, gzeira Shabbos atu Yom Tov. If you do it on Shabbos, you make them to do it on Yom Tov. If you do it on Yom Tov, so you make them do it on Shabbos. And he says, Shabbos v'Yom Tov chada. He adds that word. Don't say, well, it's a gzeira, no. Shabbos and Yom Tov are one big zeira. Now, it's because it's forbidden on Shabbos, Chazal just put it under one big roof of Isser. And therefore, it's one big zeira. So therefore, coming back to this, even though on Yom Tov you could say it's a triple zeira, and we shouldn't make it,
I think
Do
you
we
froze
lose him
up.
again?
Yeah.
however, full disclosure is that not everybody...
Rabbi, I'm sorry to interrupt. We lost you for like a minute or so. No, a few seconds.
So the Maisa, the Magen Avraham does forbid it, and the Abnezer does give an explanation for him. But on the other hand, there are some who paskin not like the Magen Avraham. The Alter Rebbe I always understood that the Alter Rebbe forbids it just based on this thing about Licholas Ayin. But now that I learned the Yavnei Nezer and I see that Licholas Ayin is not a regular refuah, it's not a refuah you ingest, something you paint, so it's not really a proof to medicine. I really have no proof one way or the other, except that the Magen Alter Rebbe, more often than not, way more often than not, passes like the Magen Rebbe. Like 95% of the time, maybe more. But that's not a proof. That's just a statistic. So, yeah. Yeah, let me text him. The kids are the Sefer HaChaim, who I discovered today was written by Reb Shlomo Kluver, famous, very prolific Rav in Central Europe somewhere, but then maybe I don't remember.
I was thinking about
Who?
Shlomo.
Okay. Good to know.
Yes. Also talking to very powerful individual. That's interesting.
Where do you get these tidbits from?
On my derech.
Your halachic, daily halachic?
Sorry, I couldn't hear what was said.
I'm just texting somebody from Irish. Just give me a second, please. I was quoting Reb Shlomo Kluver in a sefer called Sefer HaChaim, which is Al Seder HaShulchan Aruch, and he disagrees with the Magen Avraham completely. He says the Magen Avraham's proof is not a proof b'chlal. That which it says in Shulchan Aruch that refuah is mutter on Chol Hamoed, which is mashma that on Yom Tov it's aser, is talking about refuahs that don't involve eating. Refuahs like bloodletting, refuahs like painting an eye, there's refuahs that have nothing to do with eating. That's aser on Yom Tov. But refuahs that have to do with eating, he says is considered shalach al nefesh. He points to Pnei Yeshua, which I didn't understand the proof from there, but he says it is mutter. So I'm not giving you a psak. I agree with it. I'm glad you agree with him. But Kol Yisrael generally passes like the Mishnah Berurah. The Mishnah Berurah does not. So I'm not saying to paskin like the Sefer HaChaim against the Mishnah Berurah. I'm just saying it's not so simple. Yes. You're not allowed to gargle like whiskey, you mean? Yeah, if you have a pain, you can't gargle it. It's going to be liquor that you're doing for the pain. Yeah, correct. Presumably. If we pass on like the Mishnah Berurah, yes.
So, Rabbi, you megager, and then you want to drink, and you don't like it. Then you can push it out. You want to drink that, but you megager, and then
why you megager?
To get
You're not allowed to on Shabbos.
Why you want to drink it?
So drink it. Don't be megager. You're not allowed to be megager.
Oh no, wow. Okay.
Why you should have the drink or a
Why else would you be? If you're doing it for fun, like the kids who like making noise, then you're allowed. Yes. There you go. About McGregor?
Yeah.
I don't remember. Okay, so the Sefer HaChaim also discusses this question of starting a medication before Shabbos, if it's mutter to take on Shabbos.
Antibiotic.
Any medication. So he says, Margala b'pume de inchi. It is a pearl in people's mouths. It's like people say it over again and again. And you say it over enough times, it becomes an accepted fact. I took a picture of it, and here it is.
And send it to me in the WhatsApp.
Margala b'pume de inchi loimer. It's a pearl in people's mouths to say. In Krahis Cholasik Berfus Kedem Shabbos, if you started to take medicine before Shabbos, you can do it on Shabbos as well. If you didn't start during the week, you can't start on Shabbos. So he's quoting people. People. Margala b'puma de inchi. People, Amcha kulam tzadikim.
start writing.
He is quoting the people he's passing. So he says, where does this come from? Doesn't talk about 7 days. Doesn't know what 7 days. Where does it come from? He says that it's based on a Gemara and Eir. It talks about the fact that if you have a poultice, a retia, which is a medicated poultice, it's like a bandage that has medicine in it, on your wound before Shabbos, you're allowed to keep it on. If you took it off, you can only put it back if you didn't put it down. A whole lot of details about that. Maybe we'll learn it, probably not, because it's deep into the Siman, we'll get to it. But the Maisa, he says, no, even the same one, only if you didn't put it down. Like it's kind of like Chazara on Shabbos with Kira. Nothing to do with carrying. Nothing to do with carrying. Even if you're staying, because you can't start doing it, but you can continue. Yeah, because it's like Chazara of a pot. If it's a continuation, it's allowed. If it's something new, it's not allowed. No, but you might smear it. The medicine inside, you might want to make it smooth so that it will sit right. Shema Yimareach. The Kitzer, so he says, the Maisa we see over there, that when something is a continuation of something else, we don't make a decree. When it's considered something new, then it's forbidden. If it's a continuation, then we allow it. Explaining the Margala. You could see a big difference because there it's the mamish the same thing. Here it's different medication. Whatever you ate on Friday and Thursday is gone. Something new. But he says it's like similar. In other words, the Maisa, once you already started taking it from before, so you presumably already made the medicine. That's another point. You presumably already made the medicine. So you could say, well, what if I made the medicine and I didn't start taking it before? Okay, but then it's still something new, even though you made it, but if you're starting something new, maybe you'll make more, please. If it's something you already made before, you already started, and you made it already, he adds this point. You made it already. Our medication we don't even make, we just buy, but I'm saying those days when you made it, you already made it, so you're not really gonna come to make it, because you already made it and you started it. So that's his way of explaining the minhag ha'olam. Even on Shabbos. Yeah.
So why does it be written because nobody has it for Shabbos? Regardless if it's really or not.
No, because by starting it, it's considered like something that you're continuing, just like the medication that's already on you, it's a continuation. Starting it is something new. They didn't want you to start something new. Yeah, he doesn't differentiate between number of days. He doesn't say 3 days or anything like that. This is the Sefer HaChaim, yeah. Not everybody agreed with him, but this is the Sefer HaChaim. So, the Maisa, Shlomo Zalman says not to rely on this opinion unless it's one of two things. Either it's a situation where it's a course that involves 8 days, and therefore the only way to take the course is to take it on Shabbos. Can't get out of taking it on Shabbos. It's 8-day course, 7-day course, you could also take on Shabbos. Okay, but I don't know why he says 8. But if it's a course that you have to take on Shabbos, then he says, Chazal, like Rav Moshe says, Chazal didn't make a gzeira against refuah in a way that's going to keep you sick forever. It makes such a gzeira. So therefore, if it's the only way to get rid of it is by a 7-day course, 8-day course, whatever it is, then you're allowed to. Or he says, if stopping to take it is going to cause an extra nichush. It's not just going to extend your illness by a day, it's going to cause an extra illness. So then you could go back and rely on the Sefer Chaim. You know what I'm saying? It's not Soim Mechanam 100%. Only in a case where the illness is going to be basically impossible to eradicate, like a Moshe, like I mentioned yesterday, or if it's going to cause an extra illness. That's all. Questions? No. All right.
Are there any, do we hold any, we say that you're allowed to confess on Niddah?
I think it's only Kut Yosef now. You see that?
That's why I was asking.
I didn't see it inside, so I hesitate to quote it. I like to look at things inside, but I saw it quoted.
No, I saw your pictures inside. The question is asking who's the person before clear out.
Sefer Chaim 11.
Besides.
I don't remember. I don't remember. Trying to remember. There were others. There were others. I don't remember who they were, but there were others. Okay, my friends. Before we continue with Alter Rebbe, points that I wanted to make. Based on my learning from yesterday. Yeah. 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 Actually, you know what? I didn't learn the second half of Avinez. The second half of Avinez was about the second day of Rosh Hashanah for this, for Refuah. And it looked very complicated.
There would be a chiluk between the second day of Rosh Hashanah and the second day.
Rosh Hashanah is considered.
Oh, right, Muhammad because he allows it. Right.
Yeah. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Fasting.
What do you mean? On a regular fast we'll make on Yom Kippur, which is Daraisa, it's not so simple. Depends on how serious condition it is. Yom Kippur in general, eating is a Daraisa. So even though it's less than a shear and you're not chewing it, you're just swallowing it, it's like a chachila. It's not. No, you're not really regular fast. It's not eating. You're eating in a small amount anyway. But it's more lenient. In Kippur, which is more strict, we wouldn't recommend it unless it's really necessary. So not only for koach nefesh, but serious condition we would allow.
Amen.
All right. So I wanted to go back to what we said yesterday, that we listen to the chayla, and if he says that he needs something, even if the doctor says he doesn't need it, we listen to him. So the Mishnah Berurah qualifies. Correct. If the doctor says it's going to hurt him, then we don't listen to him, because then we can only listen to one or the other. The doctor says, yeah, well, if you want to do it, you can do it. We listen to him, because even if it's a suffix, we have to listen. But if it's one or the other, we listen to the doctor, because the doctor is, after all, a bigger expert. However, the Mishnah Berurah points out something important. He says that we're talking about where the choila says, I know I have a problem with this limb. I feel I have it. I feel I have the pain. I need to heal it. Even though the doctor says that, I see it, I'm looking at the, the MRI, I'm looking at it, it's fine. No. He says he has it, he has it. But if they both agree that he has the problem, the doctor says, whatever, there's no treatment prescribed right now, even though it's a dangerous thing, but well, there's no treatment prescribed right now. The Chayla says, no, what do you mean? I looked it up on the internet, and there's this and that treatment, and I know because I researched it, and I know, and I'm the Chayla, so do it for me. No. Then we don't listen to the Chayla. The Chayla doesn't have bigger expertise in the doctor because it's affecting him. He only has bigger expertise in the doctor if it's something that he feels. Understand?
What if the doctor would try it out because he never heard of such?
That's not.
No, stop. It sounds like it could work. I hear the concept. I never learned it. Huh?
Not because the Chayla says it. The doctor feels it has a serious chance of trying it. Fine. But not because the Chayla says so. The only thing is, he says, if the Chayla is so stressed and traumatized that if you don't listen to him, his illness could actually injure him just from the fact that you're ignoring him. Okay, then maybe.
What about the opposite case?
You gotta accept it, huh?
Refuses to. Because I don't care what the doctor says. I don't take it.
Well, that's not just about the doctor, it's more about the Ram. Does a person have the right to be machmir? That's the question. Can a person be machmir and not desecrate the Shabbos? Or not? For the sake of saving his life. So the simple answer is that halachically, he's not allowed to.
Even if it's just through medicine?
What do you mean?
The doctor says if you don't take this medicine, the doctor says if this person doesn't take this medicine, he's going to die.
Yeah.
He doesn't have a right to say no.
That's not what I would say.
So, recently, the Ramban says, even though it says Rape,
We don't pass like the Rambam. With all due respect, we don't pass like the Rambam.
There's other Rishonim there. So.
There are other Rishonim, we don't pass like. No, I'm serious. This is not a Shabbos issue. This is a general issue. We paskin that.
What do you paskin? Shulchan Aruch paskin? Who says that that's the psak? Someone who, if it's not in the Shulchan Aruch, and someone wants to depend on other Rishonim, allowed.
It's been paskin. It's been paskin. I can't tell you where I saw it.
It's not been paskin.
It has been paskin.
I'm saying it hasn't been paskin. For example, the Nachman says, I mean, he doesn't cite what a life many things, but he was very much for the non-taking medicine, even if they say bad things. You should just, if you're anyways going to have to rely on Hashem, he says to you might as well rely on Hashem in the beginning. And I'm not saying that's what we should do, but I'm just saying that these people talk very much against us. Now, if it's going to save your life, maybe that's a whole different subject. Meaning if they say that this
it is in Shulchan Aruch, and it's a similar Shulchan Aruch. In Bikra Choyla. In the end of your day, there's a progression. It goes from Bikra Choyla to Vidui, to Goisis, to Levaya, to Avelis. That's the progression. So in the one about Bikra Choyla, there's a section there about before. And there's a Taz, and they discuss it. The Poskim discuss this question. If you can be machmer like the Rishonim who say that you don't have to go to the doctors, the shus, the way for the rabbis, they discuss it, and that's the psak. I mean,
only for life-threatening things, or even for things like damage.
I don't know if it's necessary for other things. I don't know. Yeah. I'm not saying there's no minority opinions, but that's definitely the psak of the majority of the poskim. Just want to thank Elchanan. Thank you.
He has to dominate?
8.
He's the only one who doesn't dominate, Rabbi?
Let me ask him.
Leave it open, please. Leave it open. No,
Service more.
no, he wants to be,
HaTorah, Mr.
You're sitting there, you'll make it right. You hear it.
קשה להם לשמוע. כל הרעש משם זה מפריע להם.
אין רעש.
בשבילך, בשבילם זה שם.
Okay, my friends, here's the story. He also brings that if a person is, this is in the Birshu, if a person is so weak that the people can see that he's in danger, then we do desecrate. We don't need to hear from anybody. Another point is that we don't desecrate to save a person from sin. If a person is going to sin, even if he is being forced to sin against his will, right? We're not Machal Shabbos to save him from sin. Now, if they're forcing him to do one of the big averos, which a person is supposed to die rather than do, then the Mishnah Berurah says that we could desecrate the Shabbos to prevent him from being Moser Nefesh. Understand? If they're trying to get him to Avodah Zarah, and he's going to be Moser Nefesh, he's going to die. So then you could do Machal Shabbos to stop them, so that he won't die. It's not because of Aveira, because in general we don't allow a person to do an Aveira to save another person from an Aveira. Now the exception to this is, in Siman Shin Vav, he says that you're allowed to, I think you mentioned this, you're allowed to, you're not just allowed to, you have to be Machal Shabbos to save a girl who's being kidnapped by the Goyim. And if she's kidnapped, then she's going to be brought up amongst the Goyim, she'll live like a Goy, and that's it. So you're allowed to do it because we tell you to desecrate one Shabbos so that she'll be able to keep many Shabbos. So there it's not just one Aveira, it's many Aveiros. It's a life of Aveiros.
right?
It's a Rashba, it's not like that. But the reason that it's allowed is only because he was not Pesheya in that case. She was not Pesheya. She didn't run off with them. She was kidnapped. Had she run off and gone on her own accord, then he would not be allowed to be Machal for.
Even if you know you can say that?
I believe so. I believe so.
Is she initiated Avera?
I believe so. It says it in Siman Reish Nun Daled, which is Shehiyah, that if somebody put a bread in an oven on Shabbos, can't take it out because that person was Pesheya by putting it in, either Pesheya or Benazim. So for you it's a small avay, it's just a drabanan to take out a dough, and they're going to do a deraisa. Yeah, still the shogig is he was Pesheya in terms of the shogig. So you're not allowed to do an avay to save it, even though it's a small avay compared to a big avay. So that's the basis. Here, it's not a question of big or small, it's a question of one or many, but it's the same principle. That in the case of Shia, we don't allow it. Okay.
If I have water, I'm giving water here. And we're doing new water, I should bless it. And that is really.
I think so. Water, it's just the same. I guess it's considered the same. So it would seem. Okay. We are going to learn in the Machaber a little bit further. Yud Beis in the Machaber. Yud Beis, is that what we're up to? I don't know if you did Yud Aleph yet in the Machaber.
Over here.
אנחנו פה.
Good.
במחבר. י' ג'. י' א'.
I don't think we even did Yud.
Oh, we didn't do Yud?
No, I haven't my
Yes.
notes just up to 9.
Very good. So let's go back to Yud. Kol choili, any illness. Shaharoifim oimrim, shin chavches, Yud. Shin chavchet po, save Yud. Kol choili, any illness. Shaharoifim oimrim, shusakana, the doctor say it's dangerous. Even though external, Machalam is a Shabbos, you desecrate the Shabbos. If one doctor says he needs it, one doctor says he doesn't, we desecrate. Some say he doesn't have to be an expert. All people are considered somewhat of an expert, but like we said in Alter Rebbe, not against the doctor. It's only if there is no doctor. So I was talking about in the case of a person whose life is at stake, we're making. So therefore, we're going to rely on the opinion that says that even a non-mumcha is believed. Only Jewish people, but non-Jews who are not doctors are not presumed to be experts. Now, what does it mean they're not presumed to be experts? Are Jews like better at medicine than non-Jews? I'm not talking about doctors. The average Jew knows more about medicine than the average Gentile? No. That's not the pshat. The Mishnah Berurah explains. Because Jewish people, from Jewish people, understand the seriousness of Shabbos, so even though they're not experts, if they say that it could be dangerous, they really mean it. But a guy who doesn't know what Shabbos is, of course, yeah, say for sure, you have to do it. Because to him, Shabbos doesn't mean anything. Now, a doctor, when he says it's serious, you have to take his word for it, because he's a doctor. But if it's a person who's not a doctor, then we don't take their word for it. Misha writes a bunch of Shabbos. Yeah. What do you mean by any type? Like a chiropractor?
No.
Osteopath?
No. It's like he's specifically faith. He's an atheist.
I don't think there's a
I
difference.
think the Gemara Avodah Zarah says he can't go to a doctor. It's a name.
Yeah, that's because you might bring you over to minus. And that applies today. It's not that he might hurt you, it's that he might, through his healing, he might convince you to serve with his own. I don't think it's sharp today. I'm sorry? Then what? So what's your question? You do your best, that's what we said. You do your best. You trust a person who says he knows what to do. Even if he's not a doctor, if he says he knows what to do, you listen to him.
And so would that be also for a goy then, if he knows what to do, even though he's not an expert? Huh?
No, by a goy who's not an expert, we don't trust a person. We don't trust him because Shabbos doesn't mean anything, so therefore he's not. He'll just err on the side of caution, and because he's not an expert, we don't take his word.
So the Jews talk about it from.
Yeah, in this context, yeah.
Rabbi.
So if you called like the ambulance, but the goy comes on the ambulance, he's not a doctor, but
he's an expert. He's not a doctor. He's an expert.
Rabbi.
Yeah.
What if let's say the doctor's a Jew, but he's one of the perutzim, he's not a cliche kind of a guy. He's not religious.
You trust him. You trust him. Actual doctor, you trust him, whether religious or not.
But the ikr was that he values Shabbos. He knows the importance of Shabbos.
No, he's not a doctor. He's not a doctor. And you're just taking a random person's word for it, then he has to know what Shabbos is about. I don't remember where I saw it, but I saw it recently that the religion of the doctor is low minded and low married. We have okay.
Osher Weiss is a very good show.
Yeah, what did he say?
Yeah, it was a very, very good show.
Yeah, I remember reading somewhere that. I remember reading somewhere that somebody said to Chazon Ish about the doctor it was Shabbos and they wanted to go to him, whatever, and he said, and he's a film doctor. The Chazon Ish was upset that they even mentioned it. He said it's not relevant. It's not relevant to the discussion.
Yeah, it's from doctor.
That's a film doctor. He felt that it didn't make a difference. I saw that recently. I thought it was in the issue, but I'm not saying it right now. Okay.
He was agitated. He thought it was superfluous that they mentioned it from.
Yeah.
Is it a better thing? So from that, you can know it's not a better thing to get it from that.
Well, if all else is equal, go to him and give him some parnas. I'm saying in terms of Chil Shabbos, he wasn't. He was not impressed by the comment that the doctor was, because he felt didn't make it. In terms of,
You wouldn't think that there's a more care given from Jew to the Jew? They have some kind of hatred.
I don't know.
Sometimes maybe.
I don't know.
And logically,
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if we have to be choshesh for that nowadays. Okay, so we continue with the end of year. Yeah. Yeshem Dafki Yisraelim was said that. Misha writes a month to Shem Rabbi Gedolah. I mentioned this. If they want to force somebody to do an Aveir, we do not just go to Shabbos to save. I also mentioned, well, that's where he discusses the case of the girl in Skinner. Yeah, but we're not looking it up, I'm just saying. We're in Yud Aleph. Shin Chof Ches Yud Aleph. Yeah. Choy l'sheish b'sakana. Choy who is in danger. Shamadu b'yim Shabbos t'ach l'as lefuidu. Sheish b'malachas chil Shabbos shmaniyam. They're going to do a refuah yedua, which is going to take 8 days to do. Yeah? It's going to take 8 days to get healed. So right now, that's good news, because the doctor is saying he's going to live for 8 days. It's good news. So now that we know he's going to live for 8 days, according to the doctor's estimation, why should we start doing the refuah now? We can wait and start on Matzah Shabbos. And he'll be sick for a little bit longer. Big deal. We don't say that. And that we only discuss on Shabbos. Do it immediately. Although you'll end up escorting 2 Shabbos. The reason for this is because until he finishes the refuah, we're talking about a person who is deathly ill. Until he finishes the refuah, he is in a situation of a sakana. So the sooner we can get him out of the sakana, the better. We are machalal a Shabbos to get him out of the sakana early. Is what we're saying. Before we discussed putting out a candle to help to allow a deathly ill person to sleep. Okay, you base. To what? If he's yesh b'sakana, yeah. Yesh b'sakana. Only yesh b'sakana. Yeah. Exactly. That's what he says there. Where he says that it's mutter for chodesh yesh b'sakana. Keshemachal Shabbos al chodesh yesh b'sakana, when you're machal Shabbos for chodesh yesh b'sakana, listen carefully. We said this yesterday. We try to not do it through non-Jews or children or women. We try specifically to do it by Jewish people who are adults and have knowledge. Some say, says the Rama, that if you can do it without delay, without prolonging it through a non-Jew, through a Shina, excuse me, you do it with a Shina. Same thing with a non-Jew. If you can do it without delay. No, Katan is because he may not do it properly. Good job. Yeah. But the reason why not through a goy is because if people see that you do it by a goy, they'll think maybe if there's no goy, you're not allowed. And next time, Chas v'Shalom, there's no goy, they might not do it. And then, Chas v'Shalom, the guy could die.
So it must be Jewish.
That's the Mechaber's opinion. Ramal says if you could do it with a guy without any delay, you do. That's the minhag. If there's a chashash that the guy might be lazy and not do it quickly, then we do it with a Jew. Okay, let's go to the Alter Rebbe before we continue the Mechaber. Yud Gimel? No, we finished Yud Beis. We'll come back to Yud Gimel soon. Okay, what do Yud Gimel in Alter Rebbe? Chodesh yesh b'sakona. Shamdu b'yom Shabbos l'chlas l'refu yidu shesh b'malachas chil sham shmoniyah. They evaluated that they're going to do a refu yidua, a known therapy, right? You're only allowed to be machal for a known therapy. But if it's an experimental thing, you can't be machal for it. Maybe it'll work, maybe no.
Somebody in the last 2 days after all,
I don't know, not simple.
I have a question.
If it's a suffix, like a 50-50 doubt, yeah, because any doubt we do. But if it's down just like a, why not? He's dying anyway. That's I don't think so. Yes, go ahead.
Oh, can you clarify
Moshe,
that? Maybe
go ahead.
that would have probably answered my question. I couldn't hear the question that was asked. But
If the doctor has a serious doubt that it's a refuah that might work, then yes, because we are machal in the case of a doubt. But if it's experimental to the extent that he has no real reason to think it's going to work, but why not? That sort of thing, then not. Because we only do a chil for refuah, for no medication.
so, for example, if somebody that has it's already like a stage 4 cancer, lo aleinu, and the chemo is not working, the radiation not working. They had a new study that they made in Europe, a new treatment that they it could work for this person, this patient. Can he do it in Shabbos if the doctor says, okay, we have it? Like,
these things are very situational, so I can't answer the question. But it depends what extent it's experimental. What are the chances?
Understood.
I'm not going to give a general answer, but in general, when it comes to that sort of disease, it's usually not a question of one day that's going to make it a break. Usually not. I mean, the doctor will delay the chemo for a day if the guy has to go to a wedding. You know what I'm saying? That's not unusual. So it's not usually going to make it or break it for one day. But in general, in a specific case, one should consult with their own. Anyway.
Sure, Rabbi. Thank you.
No problem. We don't. We don't say let's wait until the night, and that way we'll have to create one chance. Even though in the end it means that we're going to have to mechal 2 Shabbos. Even though he's not going to die today. The Yud Gimel, אנחנו עוברים. Yud Gimel, Shin Chav Ches Yud Gimel. Even though we're mechal 2 Shabbos, he's sure not going to die today, at least the way it seems. Because after all, they think he's going to last for 8 days, so they reckon that he'll be alive for 8 more days. The fact is, until the 8 days are over, we don't know if he's going to live or not. So the more we delay it, the longer we're leaving him in a situation of danger. In a place that you're able to start the refuah immediately without being mechal Shabbos. So just to wait a small amount of time. So meaning to say, you have a medication that can be requisitioned without any chil Shabbos by a Jew. Right? Or you can do it yourself right now. You need to say, there's a guy who's going to be available in an hour. Or you can do it yourself. But then, not so simple. Then they shouldn't desecrate, to do it immediately without any delay. If it's in a way that there is no chashash sakana because of that small delay. The fee, listen to this, very important line. Because Shabbos is only pushed off because of pikuach nefesh. It's not completely permissible. 61, let's see what he says in the note here. The term dechuya, which we have translated suspended, implies that although prohibition is not enforced, it has not been lifted entirely. In contrast, the term hutro, which we have translated as released, implies that no trace of prohibition remains. Okay, so there is a trace. Hashem allows you to do it, but it's a trace of a prohibition. So therefore, if we can wait a small amount of time, and the person's not going to be in danger, and we won't have to desecrate, we wait. Whenever you can save them without desecrating, we don't desecrate. Nevertheless, now he uses that as a segue to discuss what we just discussed in the Mechaber Yud Beis. So you have goyim or children that are too young to have.
I have a question on the last paragraph where it says Ella yit shayitz l'shaos sha mu'atas. What does that mean?
But we'll have to wait a small amount of time.
So
Doing so will require waiting a brief amount of time.
What? In other words, if he has to wait a small amount of time, like for Shabbos to end?
No. He means you can acquire the same medication without any chilul Shabbos, but it will take some time. Or you can be mechal Shabbos to acquire it immediately. You have to drive to the store. If you drive, you'll get it in 10 minutes. If you wait for the Uber, by the time you call one, it's going to be 20 minutes. Okay, so wait for the Uber. You'll wait 10 minutes. Okay, wait 10 minutes. See
Okay. I think so. Let me digest it.
Actually, you know what? I take it back, actually. He's not talking about doing it with a guy versus doing it with yourself. That's the next thing he's going to talk about here. He's talking about if you can get it without any chilul Shabbos at all later. You need to say, let's talk about this case. The medication you have now is on the locker. And the key somebody else has, and he's not going to be here with the key till an hour from now. So you can go to the store and buy a new medication. You'll have it in 10 minutes. You can wait, and in an hour, this same medication will have that any malacha whatsoever. So
you can take it on Shabbos, this medication, because you have to wait to get it.
No. His life is in danger. Talking about a person who's deathly ill, you can take the medication. We're not discussing the taking it. We're discussing the chilul Shabbos in procuring it. So we're saying if you can procure it without any desecration of Shabbos at all, not through a guy, because that we're discussing. Without any desecration, then we don't desecrate. Notice how in the case of the 8th day thing, we said, don't wait till after Shabbos, because we want to get him out of the illness right away. Even though he's going to live for 8 days, but at the end of 8 days, who knows what's going to be? We want to get him out of the illness right away. Here we say, no, don't desecrate. Wait a little bit, big deal. We just said before, we want to get him out of the illness right away. The difference is, if I understand correctly, over there, anyway, Shabbos is going to have to be desecrated. We're desecrating the second Shabbos anyway. So once we're desecrating, we'll start desecrating right now anyway. And the fact is, okay, nevertheless, we have to desecrate. And we're saving him from this situation of being, his life being in danger. Even though it's just taking him out of danger a few hours early, we'll do it. But over here, where we don't have to desecrate, we can accomplish them without any desecration. And the doctors say, it's fine, I'll survive an hour without. So then we prefer not to desecrate at all. If we don't have to desecrate before not to. If we have to desecrate anyway, we desecrate even twice to start it earlier. But if we can do without desecration, that's better. Because the doubt you desecrate also. Okay, when we call Makam nevertheless. After you for the not going to make time in the mitzvahs. Ein amar yesh lasan de elu hu leischal Shabbos de yisrael b'nei mitzvahs. Shemekivin shein derech matzil levas yis malach asur b'Shabbos and nitcha Shabbos b'shuvah. The Absiyam Mukhim with Losin and Tamchil O'Clock. Okay, listen carefully to the chiluk the Rebbe is explaining here. When there's a way to save him without any chiluk, then we do. We delay saving him so you can do without any chiluk. But once you have to be machala, so then you can't be machala because the fact is Shabbos is pushed off. So you don't have to look for goyim, kids, because for the people that have to save him, there's no isser. There's no isser whatsoever. That's the name of it. Even if the Jew wants to be strict and do it himself and not do it himself, I'd rather do it to a Gentile or a child. Or simply because he can't be bothered, there is an isser in the manner that there are bothered. Yeah. No. What does that mean? If she has to go to the hospital now, you go now. I mean, it depends how far she's dilated. But if it's time to go, you don't have to wait.
You don't have to look forbidden.
Forbidden, correct. Isser Midim said it's forbidden. No, he's saying the first opinion. This is the first opinion. Which out there says the name Allah. He says the minhag is like that, but the halacha is like that.
He doesn't. Oh.
The Maisa, he says that's the minhag. You'll see. Sorry? Yeah. If you'll know that there won't be any sakam. You need to say if the woman can wait, if it's 5 minutes till Shabbos is over, like a shah, wait. But an hour, if she's already ready to have the baby or soon, I mean, one of my babies, came like 7 minutes after we got to the hospital. One came 7 minutes before we came to the hospital. So it's a question of minutes. It worked out fine. It was self-delivered. I didn't even get a chance to go to the other side of the car. Grab the baby. We got off at the Hollywood exit. We're going to Joe DiMaggio. And we stopped at the light. She said, "Here it comes." Put it in the park. Before I came around the car, the baby was out.
Usually takes a couple of minutes.
I mean, that was number 6. So actually, no, that was. So yeah, it happens.
And obviously, I'm
That was possible, yeah. It wasn't Shabbos. Anyway.
And you would have driven, right?
I would have driven anyway, of course. She's a sakana for 7 days. She's in sakana.
3, 7? 3 recently.
3 is if depends if she says she is. It's 3 for sure. 7 depends if she feels it or not. Okay. Now there is speaking of an instance where there is another person who will perform the forbidden labor unless the sick person is not going to be saved. Not the case of religious state is not a scripture, not in bed. As I do not stand either be a fellow brother. Yeah.
There's no problem, it's a religion and somebody else.
There's a prohibition there about it. What's the problem? If you don't do it yourself, and you look for somebody who's less obligated in mitzvahs than yourself, People might think that Shabbos is not really supposed to be desecrated. And we don't allow them in the first place by people who are obligated mitzvahs. And then could lead to a situation where people might not desecrate themselves if that's all there is. We discussed this yesterday. Women, they are obligated to mitzvahs. So if you tell them to do it, why not? It won't be a mistake. Nevertheless, I'm thinking of myself don't make them in charge of it. Because maybe they'll be lazy or they'll be negligent. Meaning to say, maybe they'll try to be strict and they won't want to desecrate. They don't recognize the fact that it's hutra, dechuya, whatever it is, it's allowed. Let's start from Israel, must never be so. But if there's a male involved, a Jewish man, then they can help him. Shekivan Shai Yisrael. Because the Jewish man is doing it, so she is motivated to act wholeheartedly. This part of the shir is not to be repeated to your wives. Even though it's being recorded for YouTube for posterity, nevertheless. When we call Makam, nevertheless, it's the best mitzvah. Try to do it through adult Jewish males who are gedolim b'chacham, great gedolim. I think the Rambam says gedoli Yisrael v'chachmeya, the great sages of Israel, the great people of Israel, and their wise scholars. But little they get is not through simple people and women. If you allow some people to do it, that might lead to them thinking, yeah, Shabbos is not such a big deal. Whereas a person who does it, Yeshimon does it, he'll know that it is a big deal and he's only doing it for this situation. Also to teach halacha l'maisa for the public. Famous story of the Alter Rebbe that he left the shul before Kol Nidre to go chop wood for a sick woman, a Yeledes at the end of town, who was left at home by her husband, who presumably went to shul, went to Kol Nidre, and left her there, and she was cold, and she was in Sakanam out there, chopped the wood, the whole story, and so on and so forth. Some say. Yeah, I don't think it applies. The whole thing, I don't know if it applies nowadays. Our women are more educated than their women. With all due respect, than their women, our women are more educated. And they are. They didn't have Beis Yaakov. In Judaism, look at Judaism.
What?
They are.
They understand more from the shuttle, talking about men, women.
There was very little formal education. Whatever they picked up from their mothers. And that was enough for them. They didn't need more than that. Nowadays, it's also true. Nowadays, they learn much more. In fact. But I think I was once around this, but it is what it is. What happened is we had a Seder in LA many years ago, my father's house, should be well. And there was a woman who was supposed to come to the Seder, and she didn't show up. And then she showed up towards the end of Magid, I think it was. And she said that she had a swollen finger, and she was shivering. She was like in her house for like 2 days on her own. She was like disoriented. The kids said we didn't have a doctor at the Seder, but we had somebody who announced himself to be an expert, and it was a chiropractor or some other practitioner. And he said, she needs to go to the ER. Because something's very strange. It's a finger and disoriented, like what's going on with her. So the kids there were these two women there who, not from, both Jewish, not from. They offered, sorry? Yeah. So they offered to take her, and Kachan, they took her. After the Seder was over, we actually walked to the hospital to make sure she was okay. Whatever. Turns out that she had they don't know for sure, but they think she was bitten by a poisonous spider, and that finger was amputated.
Oh, wow.
Not the whole finger, but like part of the finger was amputated because it was the poison spreading. They had to stop. That was actually to go that. Yeah, part of it.
Did you know this one?
I had learned it, but I hadn't taught it.
Probably you cannot type water here and take the blood out.
You want to ask the doctors to see the Sinai? I can give you the number. You can call them.
No.
Anyway, the kids are, but it bothered me afterwards that we didn't do it ourselves. We let people who are not from do it as if to say, well, they're not from anyway. They don't keep Yom Tov anyway, so big deal. But I don't know if that was my father's reason. It was probably just because, the Seder and the kids and, these were two single women, so somebody has to do it, but why should people who had a family miss out on the Seder? Anyway, I'm not sure, but anyway, let's continue. V'yeshaymer.
Just a concept. Oh, but that's concept. Not just a concept.
No, that was Sakan Savashis.
It would have just been a concept, right?
Sakanas Aver, we would have had to call an ambulance.
Oh, like you're not getting double.
Yeah. You would have run yourself and then go to the way. V'yeshaymer. This is the Ramah. Yeah, but he was quoting. Who was he quoting? Erzurah, Shilta Gebarim, Lagan Mishnah. She came in Shabbos, the Chuya he ate Haloyot Klal. Since Shabbos is the Chuya, not Hutra. Ma'ashav Shalas is Shalei Hechil Manater Tzach Lasas. Whatever you can do to make it that it shouldn't be a Chil Manater, you should do. You should be Shalei Hechil Manater. Velochin, in Nafsha, Lasa Blei Dechol Deichol, Deshina. What is a Deshina? If you could do without any delay, without any, how does he translate Dechol? Postponement or delay. So if you could do without postponement or delay, so last of the day, Adeshino, I said they should do it with a different way. Then there's no Torah transgression. If you do it with a goy without any delay, so last of the day, nothing with a goy. But they also last with Saturday, nothing, the Rochen Shesh Nachosh, Shema, Yisasa Nachel. It's only forbidden to do with a goy if we suspect that as a result of that, the goy might be lazy and not do it right away. Not if the Jew is standing there making sure it does it right away. The main halacha is like the first opinion, the Machabi, which is the Rambam and other Rishonim. Nevertheless, the minhag is like the second opinion. It's good not to follow this minhag. Listen to the reason. There is a chashash that maybe, thank you, they'll see that we're only doing it through a goy. They'll think that there's an issa to do it through a Jew. Thank you very much. Maybe one time a goy will not be available. And then the sick person will be in danger by waiting for the goy. I'll call upon him in any case. Or it's a person who wants to do it through a goy. Okay, listen carefully. Alter Rebbe says it's better not to follow the minhag, because the fact is it could lead, exactly, not to follow Rama. Why? Because it could lead to people thinking that there's a problem with a Jew being B'chal Shabbos, which could lead to somebody Chas v'Shalom who knows what. And therefore, you shouldn't follow the minhag. And even if you want to, when you do it, you should announce so that people know that the only reason I'm using a guy is because he was here. But if he wouldn't be here, I would do it myself.
Let's say if you were watching with people download. You can just go to the window next door to the door, please go. And start doing it. We'll start with 3 minutes. But still,
I wouldn't say that the minhag includes the rabbanos. I would not say the minhag includes the rabbanos. Calling is not a deraisa according to most persons. I don't think you have to. If the guy is there in the room, that's for sure. I don't think you have to go to the guy. I don't think so. I think this is by a deraisa. For the rabbanon, I don't think so. The whole thing is by the deraisa. Okay, we have a few minutes, so let's go back to the Mechaber Yud Gimel. Kol Azores, Lachal Shabbos, B'dam Yishet V'Kon Aris M'Shuvah. Afilu Masak and Imoy Dover Acher, Kagon Shepeirash Mitzur Alal Estinek Shenaf Al-Menor Mitzanim and Dogim. Achin Kol Kiyitzu B'Zeh. Whoever is swift to desecrate the Shabbos in a matter of sakana is good, even if he's fixing something at the same time. For example, if he spreads out a net to save a baby, and at the same time he catches fish, no problem. It's no problem, because he's doing an act that's permissible. By the way, the Gemara says, even if the guy was fishing, and he didn't even know about the baby, and he just thought he was catching fish, and in the net he brought up the baby and saved the baby, he's pater. Even though his intention was for fish, and he got fish. But at the same time, he did an action that was permissible, because you're allowed to get a net full of fish as long as you save the baby. So therefore, he didn't do an aveira. He tried to do an aveira. It's not good to try to do an aveira, but in fact, he did not do an aveira. Yes. No, mukta. Mukta. Even fish that was fished by a goy for himself is mukta. Yes. If he's trying to save the baby, he didn't do anything wrong at all. If he was fishing and in the net he brought up a baby and saved the baby, he did not do an aveira. He tried to do an aveira because he just tried to fish. The baby fell in. The baby was drowning and he saved the baby.
It's very weird.
No, we go by the Maisa. We go by the Maisa. The Maisa was an action that saved it.
It's very interesting.
It's interesting, yes.
What about if you set a boat or drown in the ocean?
For sure you're saying. A baby is just a small thing which you could get in a net without noticing, but for sure.
Someone stole a car and he realized in the backseat there was a baby choking or sick or whatever it is. And he asked to go to the hospital and save the child, but that was the case. That he didn't have to pay for it again, he just left the car with it.
Sounds nice. I hear it. Hoya choyle.
Is that the rabbi?
Yeah.
Oh.
Hoya choyle. It is a big chiddush, you doubt. If the guy was sick and he needed meat, and we could go to Publix and buy Purdue chicken or whatever other chazarai they have there, we shecht for him. We don't feed him the Veda. But if there's the Veda ready now, and the chef is going to take time, then we give him the Veda. Big discussion. why we shech instead of giving him the way. That's one reason. That's one reason. There's many reasons. He's saying that it's the number of kazayis. Every kazayis is missing. Shkut is only one. Alter is going to bring some of the reasons here.
Well, that's a good one.
Yeah, that's the
No,
right.
but that's not necessary. That's what we need.
I'm saying they're both the chuya, Shabbos, Vela, but this is going to be a dichuya.
Why get other people to do theirs? Why get other people to Machal Shabbos? You could just do this guy.
What's the difference in saying with somebody else?
The guys either, no, because the shkita, right now, because the shkita doesn't cause me kosher.
Kol Azor says the altar. Kol Azor the Chal Sham because the Vishesh Mesachana is Meshubah. Afilu Mesachani Medevracha. Whoever acts wholeheartedly, he says, desecrate the Shabbos in a matter that has a sakana is praiseworthy. Afilu Mesachana Medevracha when he's fixing something at the same time. Because Shapeiras Metzuda Lahalas Tinach Nafal Nar. Tzaddim Medagim, for example, he spreads out a net to take a baby out of the river and he catches fish at the same time. Because it's just similar things anywhere else. If the door was locked in front of the child, you can break the door to save the child. Because otherwise he might die of fear. Pretty scary. If the sick person was in danger, he needed me. We don't say feed him in the vein. She's allowed, we're only missing love. Instead of Shabbos, which is ski. Reason number one is because Shabbos is already desecrated because you have to light the fire, you have to cook. So once we push off Shabbos, push it off some more by shechting. Reason number two, in addition, the nevela, there's an issue with every kazayis. I think it's the ram. Every bite is an issue in that time. Every single achila. I'm in the Alter Rebbe. I'm in the Alter Rebbe, sorry. I didn't answer. Tezayin. Mashenka b'shchita, she'ein, Mashenka b'shchita ain't no yisrael yisrael. The shchita is only doing one issue. Even though it's more strict. This is a good tshuva drasha, by the way. Good tshuva drasha. Yeah. Two averas, even though the light, are considered worse than one big avera. This is totally not on people's radar. Little averas people do, they don't pay attention to them. Big averas, whatever people consider big, that I don't do, chas v'shalom, little things.
What's the context?
This is the Ram. The Ram says, better to shech and be docha Shabbos, which is this skila and kares, one, rather than have him eat 2 kazesim of the vayim. This skila, 1 is less than 2 regular lamb.
Did anyone say because of Tintin?
Actually, yeah. One of the Rishonim says that Isur Achila are more strict because they go into your body. I saw that one of the Rishonim. The Maram says this, that the choyle may not be able to stomach the nevela. He may be so disgusted by the nevela, he's not going to be able to swallow the gashmis. So you're going to go through the whole thing of cooking it for him, and in the end, he's not even going to be able to eat it. So shech instead. However, if the shchuta is not ready yet, and he needs it, we just give him the vela, we don't do it. If he needs to boil the wine, the Jew should fill it without the guy touching it, and the guy heats it according to the minhag above that the goyim should do malacha if possible. And he should watch him that he shouldn't touch it before he boils it. Even if he does touch it, in Bekachlu is no problem. It's only this in Rambalan. If the Jew heats it, it will be an issue with their eyes. And When it comes to Yain Nesach, people don't consider it as chomer, and therefore we don't have to suspect that he's not going to want to drink. Okay, my friends, we will continue Mitzvah Shem next week. And for your information, I will be away in 2 weeks. Monday night in 2 weeks. I believe it's the 4th of March.
2 weeks, right?
Yeah, the 4th of March I'll be away.
Next week is Ragil.
Next week is regular. Is that
Where is the Minyan Nasiri?
I don't know.
Let's call it. Preparing.
Rabbi, you have a minion?
And if we didn't,
I would go if anything. I'm just
you would teletransport you.
I would daven for Tzvitza Chaderach to be there on time.
Yeah. Somebody's supposed to come.
Yeah?
Somebody's supposed to come. There's nothing.
So you let me know?
No, people are not going to wait. People are not going to wait. Khalid said he's coming. Let me just text him again.
Okay, Rabbi. Have a good night.
All the best. Have a
Good night. Thank you very much.
Actually, it's a good question. Can you teleport on Shabbos if somebody else does it?
No, I'll take it money. Don't face me.
It's a separate section. Also related to questions of the people. 618.
Yeah.
So that's very interesting.